putting your big toe on the trigger. And it's like, which one of those are, I don't know, like they both seem, but at that point, your perception of reality is so distorted that like you don't, all the things that would normally compel you to move along, like your, like love and joy and like your drive, your drive to be that, none of that really, it's not there for you to even contemplate, if that makes sense. It's like that part's is almost like, or at least for a little while, invisible, and all you see is fear and responsibility, and just this. Like I said, I just envision it like a mountain that you don't really know if you're even able to climb, and then the other option is just. So I think that's probably where a lot of people go, and that's probably where I was just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not just responsibilities, the immensity of it, the mountain. And I think you're accurately describing how it happens, which is gradually.
Yeah.
Seeing yourself in a negative light over time slowly suffocates you. And then the burden of the responsibility that piles up. And unfortunately, of course, one of the ways out is to pull the trigger. And the other way out is the Jordan Peterson, back to Jordan, sort of one gradual step at a time, like make your bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like start climbing out, like the responsibilities before you, one at a time, every single day, just climbing out, and have faith that it will work out.
That was what was so powerful for me about just beginning to open my mind back up to reading just a little bit of stuff, like a little bit of stuff from the New Testament that Jesus said and some different perspectives and teachings. But like, an apostle would be in prison, like basically being tortured and facing death, but like just overjoyed in writing about talking about, it's all about your perspective of things. Like I said, like that's why I never could understand why, like celebrities or professional, I mean, giving one example of many, like a Kurt Cobain type scenario where you have a guy that's just immensely talented, just will always be loved by plenty of people. Like I never could understand why that guy.
There's a ocean of quiet suffering in a lot of, and I think it is disproportionately in a lot of men, and they hide it well.
That's why blue collar workers have such a high suicide rate and all too, and why it is so important to talk to those people. And
yeah, it's you can see it in the eyes, and there is a lot of pain there.
Without trying to open up too many doors, I think that's probably the best way I would describe it, is just a series of negligent decisions and also just misperceptions, like I think this was an Andrew Huberman thing where he talks about medications and how it's a lot more likely for somebody to keep their dog on their medication schedule, but not themselves. You love your dog, and your dog like is just this great little thing, and you don't see the flaws and the faults and the sin and the disgust in your dog that you do yourself. So it's much more likely for people to make sure their dog has their medication every day. But like, there's this alarming statistic with just the amount of people that don't even fill their prescriptions they need filled or take care of themselves the way they do. And then that also, like over time, like if you quit taking care of yourself and you're not in good health and you're not in a good routine, you're not like a long series of doing enough of those things like you do, it's easy for you to just think that your self-worth is zero. Because if you're not even willing to have basic hygiene and eat decent food and try to take care of yourself, it's like, how on earth are you going to go face all these things that you need to face to get your life better if you don't even care enough to do that? It's just like, but it's a long, tragic road to get to that point, I think. At least in my case, the idea that there was something bigger than me that loved me, even despite I had all these flaws and problems and just that I was just such a wretched person. That's what, at least in my situation, that's what I think helped put, more than anything. Like I said, that's certainly where the motivation to quit once I quit the drinking, it helped a lot because I was able to, even though it was difficult, I was able to actually be honest with myself and reflect on a lot of things that were, and you got to think, like I said, we watched it was like of course, in my case, it was a little unfair of an example because within a month, all this stuff had happened, like after I quit. But, I see it in my friends that have quit and have tried to turn things around. And it's like, it is the most beautiful thing in the world to see somebody like come to life again after being in one of those. You're able to like sort of like escape this shell of all those terrible things. And even if you are still in a bad position and you're still, you got 30 grand worth of credit card debt and you're working some shit job and your car doesn't start half the time. And like, your girlfriend left you for some other dude. And like, don't matter what it is. Like if at least that little glimmer of hope, that like that faith that there is a chance it's something greater, like that'll push people. You can push a mountain aside with that, like you can do anything with that. And I think it's also good. I think it is important to have a good support structure. Like when you get to that point, I don't think anybody should have to face that stuff by themselves. And there's plenty of other people out there that are in the same position. And I think that's why it's so important for us to try to get reconnected on a personal level and not just through digital communication, because like all we see of each other online is the good stuff.
Yeah.
Very rarely are people posting on Facebook talking about, how could you even, it's like all you see is the best of people, but I don't think we realize that we're all going through a lot of the same things anyway, the low points and stuff.
Guess what happens when you either lose your job or can't quite figure out a good job and you're not making that much money, or you're basically broke and you have a girlfriend that's not happy about you being broke? She's going to leave you. Or if it's a wife that could face divorce, and like the breakups and divorce can break a lot of people even when they're doing well.
Yeah.
And now when they're not doing well, that's a rough one. And that basically your support system for a lot of people is the relationship, is the wife and so like that's taking the support system from underneath you. And
I've had good friends of mine I've seen get in destructive relationships, and like they'll start to date a girl, and then like within a year they're just like a shell of what they were. Because sometimes I do think you have to be careful with like your self-validation and the way you perceive yourself, and making sure that it's you giving yourself that and not somebody else. Because I do think too, it's like, yeah, like you're, how are you supposed to, if you can't even keep a woman around to love you, right? Like, how are you supposed to love yourself? It's easy to think about that. Like I've seen a lot of men get wrecked in bad relationships and stuff too. It's tough,
Yeah. Ultimately, I think maybe dark to say, but there is a base layer at which we're alone in this world. Like you need to be strong by yourself first and foremost, because sometimes there'll be times in life where everybody leaves you.
Yeah.
The wife leaves you, the job leaves you, and for some people, even people you thought are friends will backstab you. And even then, you have to have the strength to find your footing again. Like that ultimately comes from you, right?
I mean, man, of course, like I said, in all the experiences I've been through, I'd be a fool to deny it, but like I do think there is God there that's always there but you certainly can self-isolate yourself too, even from that.
If you can find faith in yourself, I've seen it do wonderful things for human beings. You and God, faith in something bigger than you. Yeah, that can give strength to a lot of people. But allowing yourself to derive strength solely from other people can be a dangerous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are complicated and they can betray. They can, just like they can fill your life with love, they can also destroy you. That's also the beautiful thing about life.
Yeah, it is.
You make yourself vulnerable to other people. You form deep relationships. That means they can also destroy you. So that's life. Yeah. That's what makes this whole thing. And then you write really great heartbreak songs.
Yeah.
People, there's something valuable about people fucking you over and hardship and all that kind of stuff.
Even the best of us have terrible parts of us. Like, we are all flawed inherently because we're human. And so there'll never be another Garden of Eden on earth, like figuratively, where we all just live harmoniously and everything's great and happy and wonderful. But it's those basic principles that you talk about, like love and those relationships and those connections that we have, that make it all. Because think about it, I mean, like in a lot of cases, it's like, that's the position you get in when you get so depressed and you get so low. It's like, what's the point in even doing all this? Like it is just, for anyone, it's just so crazy, overly complicated and exhausting to live, isn't it? Like even in this modern society where we have all these wonderful little conveniences and we can just have food delivered right to our door if we want and all this kind of crap. It's like people are still like more depressed now than they've ever been. And like all the mental anxiety and all the mental health stuff is just probably just as prevalent as it's ever been. It's people talk about money not making you happy. And, it's like easy when you're broke to think, man, if I had some money, and of course, financial freedom is what you're really looking for, not like an abundance of wealth, but the things that we talk about that make life worth living aren't things that you can buy. They are things that you obtain through relationships and love and life. And so it is just an infinitely complex and crazy thing to think about, but it's like that human component of us is what's so important to our long-term existence, like our ability to have connection with each other, and the joy we find in that, the purpose we find in that is it's not anything that's replaceable with anything, you know.
Yeah, I've seen that with just seeing the effects of war on a people. And basically war strips away everything. You lose your home, you lose everything. And you get to see what's actually really important. And that's the other people in your life, friends, family. And it's almost cliche to say, but it's the people you love in your life that make up the essence of what makes life worth living. It's not the homes, the material possessions, even the job and whatever else. It's the humans. So yeah, it's important to remember. A lot of us, especially in the United States under a capitalist system, are chasing money.
Yeah,
it's important, like, to remember what you're doing it all for. I gotta talk to you about your writing process. You've written just a bunch of really incredible songs. You say you're not a good musician, which is hilarious.
Dude, I have like zero self-confidence about just about anything, but when I say that, I'm not being funny. Like, I'm like,
you get nervous when you like get on stage?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I can think about shows coming up and my hands will sweat thinking about them.
Yeah, you told me that you like haven't really played the songs for like a couple months, like old songs
since September. Yeah,
since September.
Well, dude, like think about how, like, you know, I'm not going to sit around and play. I've got to get sober for fun, like, and like, you know.
So you feel the songs when you play them.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's rough. That's rough.
A lot of musicians talk about that kind of thing, though, right? Like about this. I don't know. I've heard about that with people, like about hating to play songs because of that side of it. But
I've become close friends with Dan Reynolds, who's the lead singer for Imagine Dragons.
Yeah,
and he says every time he performs a song, I mean, he has songs that have depression in them and all that kind of stuff. And he says like the only real way to do it is to feel it. You have to. You can't just fake it. You have to like be in it. You have to like really feel the song as if you're singing it, as if you're writing it for the first time. So, as a performer, that he says that's his duty. He has to the audience, but then that takes a toll. That's not easy to do. That's like that, especially with the songs you write. I mean, there's a lot of darkness there in your songs.
Yeah, and I do have some lighter hearted ones too that I'll, you know, I mean, the thing is, it's like I've only put out. I'm a little funny about like really like. God, I don't know how many songs I have written that I will probably never do anything with. Like, I mean, probably at least 20 or 30 of them that are just like, they're just not, I just don't know why I don't want to put them out, but just.
What does it look like? What do you have, like a notebook with ideas, or do you mean you have like literal videos of half-baked songs?
Yeah, I've got my old phone. Well, like even just that old phone that I recorded all the stuff for TikTok and all on, it's got loads of like little, just like the way that Richmond one was, where it was like in the bathroom facing this, and I had like that, you know, that's all that. Even that one I showed you on there, it had been sitting on my phone probably a couple months before it. That's why I said I have too many unfinished songs. It's exactly what I meant. I've got all these little snippets of things, like a little blip here or there. But the writing process is, well, it's a lot different than I thought most people write. Because like there's a lot of people that do these writing rooms and stuff, and they'll have, or, you know, these co-writes where they'll have people sit down and they like sit on the couch and smoke a joint, and they're like, all right, let's write this song. And they just like start plugging away, and to me, that's like, I can't do that. I have to just, it's like almost it's like a lot of times the songs come when I'm not prepared for them.
You like to be alone?
Well, alone in my head. I could be I could be anywhere in it.
Right.
You know, some of them I'll just be in the shower and they'll just like, and I'm like scram, because the thing is like, it's a certain part of your brain, I guess, that creates that stuff or picks it up or does whatever, but they come and they go just as quick as they come. It's like when you wake up, it's exactly like when you wake up, you've had this crazy vivid dream in your head and you wake up and it's all right there. and then you stop thinking about it for like half a second, and then it all goes away, and you'll never remember it again. You know, like you can't remember your dreams like that. It's exactly like that. It's like it'll be there. It's like perfect. Like it's all right. It's like it's almost like given to you, like just perfect, like parts of it or the whole thing or whatever. And then you get into this flow state to where you just like it's all there in front of you, and you just figure it all out. And it's like somehow you've like unlocked this little part of your brain that you don't even really know how to get to, but you just get to it and it's all there and you figure it out. But man, if you don't get it, it's gone. Like you'll never get it again. Like you'll never even be able to replicate that song ever again. It's like it'll just go away. And typically it's like it's only maybe the first half of the first verse is what I'll get, or it'll be like the chorus line I'll get, and then I'll build the rest of the song around that, if that makes sense, I guess.
Well, the words or the music or the melody, like what pops into your head?
The emotion, I guess, the words. Sometimes it's a phrase like one thing I will do is like, especially out in the country, people say the craziest things, and so sometimes I'll like jot down a little bit of I will sometimes on my phone take a little note if somebody says something real crazy that I've never heard before, and then maybe one day it'll just pop in my head like, oh, you know, I don't know, it's very random though. Like I don't sit and just try to write songs. That's why I haven't just been dumping out. Even though I have been writing a lot of songs, I haven't just been like dumping out all this crazy music. I don't want to force it. I don't want to do truck beer girl songs or like, I don't want to force song. I don't want to like.
Do you have any truck beer girl songs? Because that would be an interesting.
Yeah, I've got this silly one about this guy in West Virginia that he's the most laid back, because I always get in my head and go over analytical about stuff and get real serious sometimes about things. And he's like, buddy, you just got to take a drag off this thing. And he was the one, he'd always like peer pressure me into taking a hit off a joint or something and like just try to cheer. And he just didn't take life so seriously. So I've written this song it's called Dr. Dan, and it's about, he's a doctor, but he's not like a conventional doctor. That's a silly one that I'll put out. So I do have some silly ones. That's like great. That. I have a couple funny ones that I'll never ever probably play to the public, but I played them at the mothership, only because nobody has their phones in there. But right after we did Rogan, I got a chance. I got connected with Tom Segura right after Rogan, and we went over to the mothership, and I got to meet him. And I love Adam Agat. He was on the thing with Norm Macdonald, is how I got introduced to him. That show Norm Macdonald had, but he's an awesome dude. And so we ended up at the mothership. I think it was the evening after the Rogan podcast, and Tom's like, well, they've never had live music in here. He's like, you could be the first one. And I was like, whatever. And so we only had one guitar, and I had my guitarist Joey with me. So Ron White was there. It was Tom Segura and then Ron White that night. And Ron took Joey in his car, drove him across town to his house, and grabbed another guitar and came back. And we got up there and we did like two really silly songs, and then Richmond in between Tom's set and Ron's set. And I was like, again, that was one of those moments in my life where I was like, what? Like, what?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, what is this crazy reality I'm in? But I do have some funny. I used to, because a lot of, when I wasn't playing the open mics, Brian that you met, a lot of my guitar playing was spent at places like his house, and we were all heavy drinkers, and we were just sitting around at a party playing or whatever, And so I definitely like the silly stuff too. But I was really in my head when we were talking about being low and what I would suggest people to do if they're in that point. But if I was just to like, not to flip this, but it just popped in my head, but probably what I would tell anybody to do if they're like suicidal and thinking about like if they're to that point is just to go find somewhere outside, like in nature, and go.
Yeah.
That's what, I kind of missed this step when we were talking about things, but like selling my house and buying that property and putting a camper on it and trying to go into this whole off-grid thing really, like, I don't know, it does a lot of good for you being reconnected to nature, because we are a part of it. But
oh yeah, I've been to the jungle. I went to the jungle for that reason. Yeah, being out in nature in every way is beautiful. Yeah, I saw you got some. Maybe that's what I need to do is get some goats.
I got two I can give you.
I have more questions. Why are you giving them so easily? Are there issues I need to know about?
Well, they're goats. Yeah.
There's no free lunch, man. How many? You got goats? You got all kinds of animals. What's the story of you out in the woods? What are you doing out there?
No comment. I'm just kidding. Just trying to escape this dystopian nightmare that we're all living under. Like,
yeah,
it was just a form of escapism, I guess. But I think in such a short period of time, my grandfather grew up like, they were in a survivalist state, like trying to make enough money to pay the tax on their land, growing tobacco. And then here I am, like in this digital world 2 generations later. And I'm just like, something's not, I just felt just felt called to try to figure all that out and how to get back into that. There's such a purity to, man, if you raise an animal and kill it and eat it, like, and I'm not talking about like Ted Nugent style, but just like, raising meat birds and pigs and stuff, and having the ability to put those in the freezer and cook them for dinner. Like,
Oh yeah.
they taste so much better, but it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it just brings me joy. Being able to grow stuff, and even just flowers and everything else, just watching stuff that's alive like that is just such a, what we're doing now is I've bought this permaculture farm that hadn't been operational in like 6 or 7 years. And, they did a lot of herbs. They had a big orchard, blueberries, but, my dream there is to create this space that, that's like the optimal place for humans to go to fix their mind. So like what's the animals and the food that I can have there, and the trees that I can plant, and the certain types of wildlife that I can bring in and attract, like the noises and the sounds and the smells that are optimal for a human to be in order to like fix whatever it is, I had the opportunity to meet Robert Kennedy Jr. early on with all this. And, he actually came out to my property and all, and we talked, and we're still, I think the idea is that we're going to launch this kind of like healing center thing out there. Once they get through all the mess that like they got their hands full a little bit right now with things, but whether I go that route or not, it's like, that's my goal, is to basically create a place that people can go and like, and fix their mind and find the optimal thing. We've got laying birds and meat birds. So we get our eggs and meat, and then, we've done pigs and sheep and goats. And then I'm going to start with I'm going to get cattle in the spring. So we'll start doing like Wagyu and Angus and playing around with, and I want to get some funny stuff too. Like, large animals have a lot of, there's all these like large animal therapies out there for mental health, like with vets and stuff. It's just something really relaxing and rewarding about being in that space.
What do you find out there in nature that you can't find anywhere else? You can't find in the quote civilized world.
Well, everything in civilization seems so, like everything we've talked about, it seems so like there's such a level of despair and unorganization and chaos, and just like, and all these like terrible parts of life that seem like so unstructured and just so uncertain. But in nature, everything is certain. Everything has a system. Like, even on the microbial level of soil, there's this like intricate system, and soil fixes it, like the bacteria fixes the soil, and you can grow certain types of plants to restore certain types of nutrients, and then that can grow certain types of trees, and then that can bring in certain types of birds, and it's like this whole big, nature is just this whole big beautiful system, like Earth is just such an intricate, complex system that is structured. And although there is chaos, there's literal tornadoes, like the metaphor we were using earlier, like there are literal tornadoes in nature and other things, but there's a piece about observing the structure there. And to me, it just helps remind and restore my faith that there is something bigger than me, that like, yeah. And there's a spiritual side to it that I don't know that I can really correctly articulate, but man, sitting out in the woods with some creek flowing by you and just sitting in stillness, like where you don't hear anything. There's no traffic from a road. There's no, you're just there in stillness and just watching the earth do its things. Just,
I've gotten a chance to spend a day and a night alone deep in the Amazon jungle.
That's like my dream, man.
God. You basically take the woods and the creek and the quiet. Let's put that like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. The Amazon jungle is like an 11, because you're not just listening to the creek. You're listening to like a lot of different species of animal having sex or trying to kill each other. And you're just like birds, monkeys, just everything. And the floor full of insects.
Yeah.
Bigger kinds of ants murdering smaller kinds of ants. It's an orchestra of insects, but it's quiet in the sense that there's no machinery. The really dark thing about the Amazon rainforest, that sometimes, depending on where you are, you'll sometimes hear in the distance the sound of a chainsaw. You'll hear like, and it pierces the day, because like there's just no machinery anywhere around. But once you hear it, it is like this undeniable symbol of what human civilization does to nature.
It pains me seeing woods get knocked down and residential subdivisions taking their place. Like this, like the monkey part of my brain wants to just go burn it all down. Like it's just like not good. Like, I don't know. I just instinctually observe it as being not good. And I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I'm with you. Like that was, like I said, that's why I felt so compelled. I mean, I had this little house that I had maybe a little bit of equity in, and it was in 2019 and the housing market was up, and I was like, I sold our little house and got that. I was able to find 92 acres for like 1,100 an acre. And so I still had to finance it, but it was at least like barely within my, and so that's what we did. We had I was paying 600 a month on the land, and I bought a little camper for $750 off this hunt club in Waverly, Virginia, and drug it up there. And that's what we had. And like went and bought I got a little Kubota tractor for 0% financing, and was like cutting, like this property was a mile off the road. So I had to basically like recut in an old logging road and stuff. And you want to talk about putting a strain on your marriage. That'll do it, buddy. Is selling your modest little rancher and doing that. But man, that's when I really started to live. And I think probably that was like the beginning point of the restoration of me, And I feel bad that a lot of people just don't even know what that's like to be on a farm or be out in nature. And I can't imagine just living in a suburb or a city your whole life and never getting to experience that. It's good that we have all this technology. It's great. And like the science and the innovation is important. And even the fact that you can go on YouTube and look up how to do almost anything is important. It's just that there isn't a clear definitive line between what's beneficial and educational and what's predatory and harmful. And so it's like, it happens to me all the time, but I could go on YouTube and look up how to change the brake shoes on my truck or something. And if I click on a short of somebody doing it, I automatically go to the next video, and I may be 3 or 4 videos deep before I'm watching like, some lady throw a pie at somebody, and then pretty soon I'm like, wait, I'm changing my brake. That's the only issue.
And then you're just doom scrolling, and it does something to your mind that just completely takes the humanity away.
Yeah.
It's really horrible. Like that dopamine thing does something to my mind that I hate, which really is the opposite of nature. Like the feeling I remember being out in nature, and not just a hike. A hike is good, but like for prolonged periods of time, several days away from the internet, away from all that.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know what that is, but I don't like what X, Twitter are doing. I don't like what Instagram is doing. Whatever that is, I don't think that's good for the soul.
Yeah, it's emulating things that we need to be healthy humans, but it's just like feeding it visually and audibly to us, but it's not giving us it's giving us the instant gratification of it, but it's not giving us the long-term pleasure, fulfillment of it. Like I said, and the beauty is we're in this weird period in time, like it's a breath of time that we're in, where we are able to conceptualize and observe what life was like in that transition point that's got us up till now. And we also have because in order for all this to continue to evolve, like even with AI, like it needs us more than we need it right now still for a very short period of time. But we have access to nearly all the information that the world has theoretically, but we also still have the perception and the memory of what life was like before it. And so this is like a very short window of time, like a breath of time, where I think we can find a way to like incorporate this into normal life. But I think like if that breath leaves us, like, I don't know, I think it's irreversible. I truly believe it is irreversible. And I think and that's just going to be the end of us. And it could take 2 or 3 more generations to get to that point. But like, I think like, why don't we find people that are way smarter than me and look at all the things that trend on social media, like the videos that everybody watches. Like, I don't know what it is, if it's wood splitting and plumbing and blacksmithing and doing something with, like, let's find all the things that people are attracted to online that they obviously are like interested in, and just figure out a way to have them in real life for people to immerse themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a transitionary state. And one of the responsibilities I take very seriously, because I agree with you, is I tried to pierce the bubble that is San Francisco, that is the Silicon Valley, that is the people that build these technologies. They often live a bit in a bubble.
Yeah.
That said, the people that criticize tech folks also live in a bubble.
Yeah.
And to sort of, first of all, piercing bubbles in general is good for people to get along, to understand each other. Because people that say all technology is evil, unfortunately, technology, even if that's true, which I don't think it is, it's coming. It's going to be built.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to figure out how to do it in a way that preserves our humanity, that doesn't drag us into this black hole of like just maximizing engagement, maximizing this dopamine thing where Instead of reading Dostoevsky, which I should be doing, I'm looking at some girl shaking her ass on Instagram and then feeling horrible about myself 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
That at scale is what seems to be happening. And so, like, reminding ourselves that this is not the way to steer human civilization to progress, to flourishing.